Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna try something different with the eyes and also with the plugs because I don't know. Lately, like my microphone has not been I don't know. It's like acting up. But my bad. Uh, so I'm gonna talk about. I want to talk about religion and what I see. Don't let the eyes fool you, and to think into making you think like is it someone demonic or a demon. I'm just using the opportunity to let you think for yourself. And I didn't pull the trigger, I I didn't put, I might have, I didn't put the gun in your hand for you to pull the trigger. You made that shit your choice on your own. You know, so I want to talk about the s- subconscious um behaviors that take over the the dormant, mostly uh are under it's under a cloak of cowardice, but they don't see that because see with Muslims, anytime you believe into that religion, you're accepting that you're Zod, you're lowercase God, lowercase G in the God. You accept uh the polarity and dualistic nature of what you think is the creator. And over time, uh, I think much awareness has been presented in their buffoonery and ignorance. Um, because as you become more spiritual, you realize it's the balance between the yin and the yang, and not solely relying on the yin or the yang as a whole, but overcoming it and acting as one. And so they buy into the idea of operating with the yin and the yang. And so it's divided. There's a group of Muslims who cling on to the good aspects of that religion, saying, "Oh, look, this you could do this, you could do that." But then there's the other fanatics who take the bad aspects of it and use it to their uh, detriment. And anytime you can serve two ideologies, like where there's you can serve the yin or the yang. It's a religion by default rejected, not good, because you can't have two masters. And so the ones that believe it wholeheartedly and only practice the good in that whole, religion with the Quran and stuff, uh, they are not blinded to the awareness of how there's the bad people interpreting it the wrong way. They're not ignorant to that. They know that there's the other side where they practice violence and all types of evil practices, hitting women, I don't know, raping kids. Um, and so the ones that practice the good like to convince the masses, like, oh, this is a good religion, look, because they practice only the good side. But then when people see, but yeah, what's wrong? Why are these people saying that they're Muslim and they're killing people? And oh, they got nothing to do with us. Those are fake. You know what I mean? So it's brainwashing and manipulation. Um, and a lot of times they're not even aware. But most of the times they know that it's you're serving as a lowercase g God who, uh, who has a dualistic nature, and that doesn't work. You know what I mean? Because there's only one, and with time, people realize it. It's just the ones that are indoctrinated because they're brought up into that family. They got no choice but to become what they're surrounded to, and they accept all these things to be gospel and the truth. But if they would have grew up on another side of the planet, they would realize and they would laugh at the notion that they were, you know, at one point in another dimension believing in that crap. Um, so yeah, there's only one Zog, man. Lord 13. It has to align with with the celestials, the universe. Um, if the words don't align and it sounds like you're serving a polarity, right? A dualistic thing, well, that's easy. You don't make the cut and you shouldn't be considered a religion. But these are not popular beliefs. This is just I am your creator, right? uh, my ego gets the best of me sometimes. Sometimes I'm humble, but sometimes I don't need to be humble, you know? And yeah, bow down and repent, bow down and worship the right Zod, the Christ, Lord 13, which aligns with the Bible, the words of life. Don't let the eyes fool you. Some people had to in order to get cured, you had to look at the bronze snake in the desert when Moses told them the only way they be healed is by looking at the bronze snake. And so another thing, the same thing is happening, right? Not just with the Muslims, but the Christians. There's a division where there's a split. One is more fanatical, and the other one is more spiritual, more focused on the practices. And so I don't like the label Christian because I tend to be that before that religion was created. Christian, um, came after, but the belief and the symbolism of the idea of the Christ-like was before it became a religion. It was just something you practice without having to spread false doctrines. Remember, before the sound came out, there was a thought. Before the thought, it was just the mind. And the scriptures were written from front to end, from front to back, right? All in the mind before it hit the minds of the men to write it down in literal form. These were thoughts already captured. And the men were the ones who wrote it down. But it was already designed from front to end, all in the mind before one spoke it out. So, I just wanted to um point that out, how there's faults, and how you're in a position to correct your errors and not keep following the wide path. You know, prove prove your worth. Prove to me that you belong, that I didn't make a mistake in creating you and giving you life, designing you before you even could come up with it in your mind. You know what I mean? Prove to me that it wasn't a mistake. And you do it not by being disobedient and choosing to worship a lowercase g God who has dualistic uh, principles or essence. You can't serve two masters. You can only serve one. Can't have it both ways. And, I thought, let me emphasize on this, give it some structure, some foundational. Let's let people know I ain't playing. uh, Now, I don't believe in religion, but if you're going to pick the lesser evil, like I said, the words first lived in the mind as a thought. And when you read and you grow, especially spiritually, mentally, physically, you'll realize uh, you can surpass the dualistic nature by recognizing and realizing that the Christ is the way. Lord 13. Hidden, hidden right there in the name is so you don't get lost. That the first shall be the last, and the last shall be the first. And after the 12 disciples and the constellations, there's no accident and no coincidence that the 13 states were formed to form the Constitution. It's the evolution of what was written and interpreted. Instead of 12, it's 13. And that's how you improve it, not by uh, creating a demigod, a demiurge or something. And as we have the Jerusalem, we have Nazareth, all of that played out in American dialect and interpretation, especially from the branch of Joseph, who supersedes and is more blessed than the branch of David. All right, so yeah, thanks for tuning in. And remember, let's build a pyramid in America. It doesn't have to be a pyramid, that's just the idea. I just want, us to get together to build something. A pyramid is just, a concept, but it could be something else. Uh, so yeah, and that with all of that.